Welcome back, everybody, to another review video by Samurai Reviews. We are your hosts. We have Brett over here and me, Josh. That is my name. Don't forget it. This review video is brought to you by Kazicam Production. It is a video and photo film production. If you do want to check it out, my website is provided down below.
You also take pictures of food.
Yes.
Some good professional food. For any of your Instagrams that need updating. So, today we're reviewing Zombieland.
Double tap.
Both of us, or neither of us, were excited about seeing this one particularly. We're not entirely fans of zombie movies.
Yep.
So, keep that in mind for reviewing this. But I feel like we put our biases aside for good reviews. I think that's kind of our thing.
We're professional guys.
Yes.
Come on. We're not amateurs.
we
I
had a
mean, look
discussion.
at this setup.
Yeah. There's a green screen. You can't just get those. We did have a discussion after, though, coming out of this movie where we were like, just to be straight up, we didn't like this movie that much. And we were discussing how much of it was just the fact that we don't enjoy zombie movies that much versus like what is actually good or bad about this movie in a general review sense, like critical thinking sense. And we had to sleep on it a little bit, and I think we were able to filter out our biased hatred for zombie movies, and we'll have some good points for you guys. I feel like we decided how to rate this fairly.
If you're a first-time viewer, we like to typically start our review videos with a non-spoiler, so you guys can just watch the non-spoiler if you haven't seen the movie yet. And then we'll get into the spoiler part, but we'll make sure we'll mention that so that way, you won't be mad at us. Yeah, so we'll make sure we'll disclaim that. You can always skip around between Brett's review and my review. Timestamps will be provided down below in the description.
Do you want to go first this time?
I can go first. Starting my non-spoiler review, I'm going to give the rating out first, I guess. My rating is a 3 for this movie. And
that was lower
than
your original.
What was my original?
I think you were thinking 4 or 4.5.
Yeah, it was a 3. Just because I really thought about it, and there was just no connection between me and the movie, and that's probably because I just don't like zombie movies anyway. But here's the reason why. Zombies are just inconvenience, really, in the story. It doesn't push the character, it doesn't drive the character to do anything besides action. Right, just killing zombies, and that you need to tell a story with that action as well, instead of just
shallow.
Yeah, or it's just not going to be. And I'll give you a good example of a story that kind of drove the action with the story is John Wick. It did fit his character. It did fit everything that was within that movie as a whole, and just this movie just didn't. It just didn't work, and that's why I don't like zombie movies. It's just inconvenience. It's not relatable. It doesn't push the characters or the story forward. So, being that said, yeah, that's why there was no story. Let's see. Going to the story part of it, because there was a story, it's just a boring family feud. It just didn't make sense in that way, and it was just boring. Overall, it was really focused on that family feud and like their problems rather than the zombies.
If you take the zombies out, the dramatic elements of this movie stay the same.
I mean, it's a zombie movie, but the story just did not have zombies.
Whenever you can take the name of your movie out of the movie and it stays the same, there's something missing in your writing.
Wrong. And I like to kind of make a comparison. Is Godzilla is one of a good one, and I don't know if I'm getting into the spoilers for this. Every time that Godzilla was on screen and fighting, it was awesome. And whenever they fought the zombies, like they tried to do something, it was really short-lived. And that was the thing that, I compare with Godzilla, is because they focus way too much on the drama between the family rather than the zombies or Godzilla and the monster fights. If you put all the zombie attacks kind of like together, including like the end, like cut out all the family drama, all the traveling, all of like the dialogue and that kind of stuff, and just like the zombie attacking, I'd say it's like 20 minutes of like the movie as a whole. Most of it was like the last scene, like the last part of the movie, which was like 10 minutes. I didn't really... So zombies kind of pose a sense of danger in this movie, but there was no consequences in this movie. I just did not feel any real danger, any life-turning events that, would change the characters. And that's what's the problem with these zombie movies, is just...
Which is an element of some comedy movies. Like, some comedy movies can have that, and this is technically a comedy, but then the comedy is also kind of crap.
And that was my next point, is that comedy was not connecting towards the audiences. Like, the lines were delivered in more of it was annoyance rather than humorous. I felt like all the comedy was just annoying to me. There was no connection. I wasn't laughing. The only time, and I'll get into the spoilers, is there's just this one character that I really enjoyed, but later on it just got really annoying in the end. And if you've seen it, you'll understand
you already know
who I'm talking about.
Yeah, you already know.
But every other person, Woody Harrelson, Jesse Eisenberg, Emma Stone, and the other girl, like they weren't funny at all. They weren't funny. Going back to that, the characters with all the main characters just stayed the same throughout the whole movie. They didn't change. They were basically the same from the beginning and all the way to the end. So 3.
My review also dropped since we talked about it last.
Okay.
I think I was being too light on it because I really thought that my bias for zombie movies was weighing it down. But I was actually like giving it more credit than it deserved because I was afraid of that. So the more I thought about it, the more I came to the conclusion that this is a below average movie, meaning under 5.
Yep.
And I don't think it should be too far under 5. I don't think a 3 for me personally. So my rating's actually a 4.5. And the thought process behind that is, I don't know if you have seen our previous reviews, we reviewed Hobbs and Shaw, and I gave that a 5.5. And coming out of this movie, I kind of thought a lot about comparing those two, because I was like, oh, it's a kind of dumb action comedy movies. They're not supposed to be taken too seriously, whatever. They're kind of the same, and I rated that 5.5, and they kind of have the same plot hole problems, the leaps in logic, all that kind of stuff. But at least Hobbs and Shaw had, like, interesting character dynamics, and while they might have been overplayed, and they might have been run into the ground, and even exaggerated to an unnecessary point, at least they had them. And this one, any sort of character that they built up in the first movie is not expounded upon. It's not evolved. It's the same thing, and they stay where they are emotionally the entire movie, except for like one person saying they changed at the end, but you don't actually see any like evidence of that change. She just like says never mind, I agree with this thing. With the lack of that, it's worse than Hobbs and Shaw, and it's a below average movie. I would not go see it if you're thinking about it. If you really, really liked Zombieland 1, like really liked it, you'll probably think this is okay. You're not gonna like it either, because I don't see how, because this is a very, very simple movie. It's a very simple sequel. They do not try and do anything outside of the ordinary. What it feels like to me, this movie, is the recycled bits of the first movie, or the recycled ideas that they had, and they're like, just kind of push them together and we'll make another movie with those bits. They just picked up the scraps and made like a banana bread cake or something. Like, it's weird. And Yeah, I mean, the best part of the first movie was the comedic tone with the like little sprinkles of action here and there. And this movie actually starts out really cool, with some interesting action scenes. And I was like, actually, the first few seconds, I was like, it wasn't great by any means. Don't get me wrong, but it was like I could maybe see myself enjoying this movie. And they added some elements where I was like, oh, that's interesting. These are kind of new things, because if you've seen the trailers, because trailers aren't spoilers, you see there's new zombies. The zombies are evolving, right? They have like all these new zombies. No, they have one. And they tell you they have like 5 different ones, and they give you all these different ones, and then they're like, they never show up. And they actually looked kind of cool. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, this one's like, how the hell are they going to deal with that? And then they just never see it. You never see it. Encompass about a half a second of the entire movie. And that was your whole kind of tagline going in this movie, is like, the zombies have evolved. And if you don't have that, that's weak.
That's part of your title too, is zombies, and you're not going to include zombies in there.
And they pick the most boring evolution of them.
Yeah,
like the most like by the book cliche one. Yeah. There are a few action scenes in this that I will give it credit for that are decent. Again, nothing in this movie stuck out to me as like, oh, that's amazing, that's really cool, I'd love to see that again. I was just like, oh, this is bearable kind of thing. There's some jokes. I agree with Josh's opinion about the certain character that is funny, and then you're just like, oh my. Yeah, so there are moments where you'll have fun, but then they'll just run it into the ground. A lot of the jokes in this are, hey, remember when we had a first movie and all this stuff happened? Or do you remember this other better movie that you should be watching? That's pretty much all the jokes in this movie. And finally, I would like to ask you all a question. Can we be done with Jesse Eisenberg? Can we be done with him? Because I swear to Jesse Eisenberg plays one character, and it's Jesse Eisenberg. He doesn't play another. He plays the same dude every time. Does anyone else notice this? Am I crazy? Am I out of my mind? Because he does the same thing in every movie. He's the same character every time. He's not even a good actor in the first place.
You're not crazy, Brett. Dude, I agree. I was really looking forward to when he was playing Lex Luthor, because I thought he would bring a different element of acting to that character. Mm-hmm. Totally screws it over. Hated that character.
Yeah. He's terrible. I love Emma Stone and I love Woody Harrelson. But in this movie, Emma Stone is bland and Woody Harrelson is there. Like he's probably the best actor in this movie, and the one thing that makes it somewhat palatable of a movie to watch. But even then, he is just like, is not Woody Harrelson to me in this movie. Like I just can't enjoy watching a movie with him in it, because it is so, it's just
a good description of this movie.
Yeah. So yeah, 4.5 for me, slightly below average. I feel like I'm being nice, but it's fine. I was a little nice to Dark Phoenix too, so. But yeah, so that brings it out. The Zombieland Double Tap comes out to 3.8 Samurai Review.
Let's get into the spoilers part of this review video. Spoilers. As me giving it a 3, I don't really have a like part of the scene. Every action scene, which was the best part, was not original. It was the same. I've seen it before. Gunshots, but like in slow motion. Them like tackling somebody in slow motion, like a zombie in slow motion, beating somebody up in slow motion. We didn't get to see too many zombies. Anyway, so my most disliked scene is probably the ending. Just like the climax part where it was just that part where everybody's gonna die. Gonna die, but you knew that they're not gonna die.
Yeah, any tension they try and build in this movie, it's like, or any tricks they try and pull are so you see right through them. I was like, let me just talk about one right now, because I want to like leave you hanging on that. So there's a few, and I'm sure I'll get to the second one and let you finish it if it's what you were gonna say.
No, you'll probably actually. It was kind of building up to like the ending scene, so
Yeah,
you'll probably hit some points that I might say too. So
one of the first one that they try and like misdirect you with, where is the character that we thought was funny, Madison. She's this like dumb blonde, if you haven't seen it. She's this dumb blonde character who just is the most stereotypical dumb blonde pretty girl, right? And that's fine because she was really funny as that like over exaggerated stereotype. It just got to the point where they just started saying this, like she would just like would mishear words because she's stupid, and that was the joke every time. And it was just like I get it.
Yeah,
she's dumb.
Uh-huh.
I understand. And eventually, after like a zombie attack, she starts having problems where she starts looking like she's turning, and Jesse Eisenberg has to go out and kill her, and you hear a gunshot, and then he like walks back to the car, and you don't see her die. And in a movie where the whole point of it is showing off these crazy kills and oh look how gross this like brain splatter is and stuff, when you don't show me the kill, they're alive. Like that's like I think I was watching with Eric at the time, and he turned over to me and he was like, "Do you think she's dead?" And I was like, "Obviously not. You've been showing me all these kills, and now all of a sudden you're gonna be like, he killed her, I guess. You didn't see it, but yeah, he killed her." And then later they explained that she was turning because she had like an allergic reaction to nuts, but like her allergic reaction looks exactly like how people turn into zombies.
Yep.
Which is insane, especially since zombies is based off of rabies and not allergies. Those are two very different things. It was one of those misdirects where you're kind of like, no. So that was one, and then the one later was at the beginning of the movie they give Woody Harrelson's character gives a gun to the younger female actress
for Christmas, even though it was like November or something like that.
Yeah. As soon as they walked in and they were like, "You have to give up your guns," and she gave like a bag, I was like, she still has the gun on her. Like it's as soon as it happens, like there's not a second where I'm like, "Oh my god, she still has the," like it's just like you try and build up this like reaction from your audience, and it's just so stupidly obvious. So yeah, basically she uses it to save Woody Harrelson's character at the end, and he's like, "You kept the gun," and then she's like, "Yeah, I hate hippies. I hated this place since I got here." And you're like, "No, you didn't. When did you give any indication?" And then she was like, "Oh, and like so that she leaves with this guy that she meets, and she's like really enthralled with this guy, and then at the end when she like shoots him, and they're like, "You kept a gun," and everyone's freaking out, and she's like, "I hate all you hippies. You guys are weird. I never wanted to be here. And you, I don't even like you. You're pretending to make songs that I know you didn't make." And I was like, "But you were cool with them all the way up until then. Where did this come from?"
She just wanted fun.
Yeah. It's so dumb. It is like any character emotion that they have in the movie is then just like, they present the opposite right after. Right. Dude, I might have to lower it to a 4. I'm just getting into more and more. I'm like, this is pretty bad. Then we'll talk about the main kind of dramatic story element. I think we just group this all in together because it's just going to be a bunch of bad. You know what? I'll stop.
All of it's bad. What are you talking about?
Let's take a bad break. And I'll give you the one good thing in this movie. The new zombies that they talk about for a half a second. those are the best part of this movie because you're watching in the beginning, they bring it up and they're just like giving this kind of narration, exposition type deal. And they're talking about these new zombies that appeared, and there's one that like eats a guy's face and then like spits his eye back out to get into this like secure room. And I was like, damn, that's gonna be nuts. And then there's like this ninja shadow zombie who just like sneaks up on you, and I was like, that's gonna cause some jump scares, that's gonna be weird. I'm into that. And then they never show up in the rest of the movie. Yep. Never show up, not even a mention. And it's just about these T-800 zombies that they have that just like take more than a headshot. Now
takes more than like 2 shots.
It takes like 8 now.
Yeah.
And then they dispatch those with a monster truck later, and that's all that takes. But anyway, so like my point is, it was really cool that they were coming up with these different ideas for zombies
These different types of, rather than just, the ones that kind of limp around and try and bite you. And I was like, yeah, the Homer. But I was actually interested in seeing this zombie movie with these very diverse group of zombies that cause different problems for our characters. And they didn't even try. So the good is that they almost had it. They almost had a 5. But yeah, so now back to the bad. The main dramatic element of this movie was at the beginning. Jesse Eisenberg's character, Jesse Eisenberg, wanted to marry.
Proposed.
Yeah.
He actually proposed to Emma Stone's character.
Emma Stone. It's kind of.
Yeah, you're right.
But I'm okay with that because I like Emma Stone. Don't like Jesse Eisenberg.
Well, things didn't go quite well between that. She totally declined, freaked out, and ran away with her sister, who I can't remember her name for any reason.
I don't remember any of their actual names. I just remember the actors, except the younger woman. That's kind of how this movie went. Like, I just didn't care enough to remember. Yeah. And I can look it up right now easily. And you know what? I'm not going to do it because I don't care. Yeah, so she gets cold feet. And he says one joke at the beginning that I'll come back to later. But he says one joke where he's like, the best thing is like, we won't get divorced because there's no lawyers to divorce us. And at the end of the movie, obviously she says yes, and he puts the ring on her. They don't get married because just like there are no lawyers to divorce you, there's no courts to like marry you. Like that's just a personal thing that you guys decided to do, which is like what you already had. So like marriage in this universe is weird, and then you're going to use it as the driving plot for the dramatic element of your movie. How does it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And then you have the drama in the middle where she leaves. She left and she's like, hey, I'm gone. Right. And so he like a few months go by and he hooks up with the dumb blonde. And then she obviously coincidentally shows up right then and there. And then she like gets upset with him the whole rest of the time. And it was like, dude, that is the most like, that's a cliche thing movies do where they just like have the person leave and then the other person like finds someone else. And then they're like, what the? I know I was gone and I never gave you any idea that I might come back, but you were just supposed to be celibate the whole time. Like, it's just dumb that she's mad at him and you're supposed to also be like, man, he's in the doghouse, but you weren't because you're like, this is dumb. And then you have this like hippie colony, Babylon, and they've survived this whole time without guns or without weapons and just like the walls. Which they take down the walls at the end. They're like, oh man, those zombies are coming. We better take down the walls and fight them. That was literally what they thought. They took down a wall to let them in. Yep. I didn't see them climbing over the walls on the sides. They all funneled into the one. Yep. Like at least in like Infinity War, you saw them like open the barrier to Wakanda, right? And they tried to squeeze in, but you still had others that were like fighting through the barrier on their own anyways. Like, but that one is just like, so if you kept that up, would they have been able to go up at all? Climb at all? Because they couldn't climb that little... Anyways, I'm getting too deep into this.
Their strategy was really weird.
Yeah.
And I think that's just because like they wanted to have a nice monster truck smashing into zombies.
Like, oh, they're going to die.
No. Going back to the ending, which I didn't like, it was my most disliked scene, was number one, there was a huge payoff that you saw coming, and it's the world's #1 zombie kill, and they definitely lead you on to this because Woody Harrelson's trying to get the world's #1 zombie kill, but Jesse Eisenberg
before that were both better than what it is.
Jesse Eisenberg's all like, nope, that's not the world's #1 world zombie kill because like there's this guy
there's a dude who dropped the Tower of Pisa on a zombie, and that's dope. That's #1. It's still #1.
But like you saw it coming because, you know, Woody's character just like wanted to get that #1 kill, and you're just like, oh, he's going to get it. Yeah. And then Jesse's character, he just wanted to get married, and you knew in the end they're going to get married. You know, there was also that whole gun thing. that she was gonna use in the end anyways. So you saw that coming. So all those payoffs coming in the end that you knew that was coming, it was just bad. And I think that was just because of the whole setup that they had with the thing, and they weren't too focused on like the actual story in between in the middle. And that's what makes the ending really bad. It was not really funny or entertaining. When that monster truck came and started smashing like all of the zombies, I was like, okay, move on. Let's move on.
I get
to
it.
the
Monster
next
truck smash zombie. Gotcha.
Even like the world's number one zombie kill, when they're all funneling the zombies over the edge of the cliff and they're falling into the thing, like that wasn't fun either.
I just watched a bunch of zombies run.
It wasn't like the fight scene in Endgame where you're just all like,
yeah,
the whole time, you know, when Captain America gets the hammer, you know, Captain Marvel's there and freaking headbutt, and then no reaction. Awesome stuff, you know.
Yeah, like, it was badass.
Good.
The other thing is just the whole reasoning for the fight in the first place is they know they're coming, and the like main core characters are like, why don't we just leave? Right. And Jesse Eisenberg's character says, well, what's the point of having a home if you don't fight for it? So they fought for it. What was the next scene?
They left.
Because they're like, that's not a place we want to live.
They're driving on a road in like,
this is our home. And I was like, screw you. That the whole basis of the final conflict was the fact that you finally found your home that you were going to live in, and that like that's going to start civilization back up and stuff like that. And you're just like, nah, we didn't have to do any of that.
Like I said, I don't have a most liked scene, but the most enjoyable thing that I really did like was the dumb blonde. It was just something actually relatable, honestly, because there are really dumb people like that out there. But I don't see any other people like Jesse Eisenberg besides Jesse Eisenberg out there. I don't see any other characters like Woody Harrelson, who's like super overly dramatic about Elvis and like all that stuff. Like I've never met anybody like that, but that's probably because I need to go out more and, you know, travel around. So definitely hit that subscribe button so that we could get you other content so we can
get me the hell out of here.
Please.
And one last thing I'll say about the blonde chick is like when she was funny, she was great. Like she was entertaining. But then you would have every now and then the things I said earlier about like her jokes was just, I don't understand words. Those got really, really like, they were like 1 second. You're like, why did you have to put that in there? Just cut it. And then there was one other scene that I thought of where they were in the car and she was talking about how she was basically inventing Uber, and everyone was talking like, oh, that's stupid, because the first movie came out before Uber kind of blew up. And she's basically inventing Uber, and they're like, oh, that's dumb. And that was the whole joke, that they were like, Uber would never work. And she was like, Uber. And I was like, I've never heard people be like, you know what's funny? Uber. That's hilarious, man. 10 out of 10 joke. Guess what? We got another one. It's even better. Uber Black.
You said it again. Oh my gosh.
What if it was like, you know, a car? It's so stupid. Yeah, so there's like just stuff like that. Yeah, that's basically the movie.
That's basically the movie. There's the spoilers for you. There's lots of bad. I don't want to get too much depth into it because it'll just this review video will just drag on, and I don't want to reflect or just minutes. Like
edit a 50-minute video again.
Just talking about all the negative things. Yeah, that's our review video on Zombieland Double Tap. Hit that like button if you definitely liked our ranting about how terrible this movie is.
Yeah. Go double tap our Instagram at Samurai Review 0.
That was nice. Check us out next time with our next review video. Yeah, which will most likely be Terminator. We'll also be watching Harriet,
the much better movie. I can already tell.
And Jojo Rabbit. So we might mention that in the Terminator
we might
review
just
video.
Talk about those two movies in the Terminator review.
Be on the lookout for that. There'll also be some other videos that will be posting out here pretty soon. I don't know what to say after this now.
Just don't move. Maybe they'll go away.
Okay.
Are they gone?
I think so.
I'm just kidding. No one watches these.
I guess take care for all those other supporters out there that's been watching our review videos. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And check us out next time
On Samurai Reviews.
Perfect.